Welcome to The Money Hour with host Tina Mitchell and co-host Keelan Harvey. Tina Mitchell, MLO 145420, and Keelan Harvey, MLO 1330075, are licensed loan originators with Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, and MLS 7233. The views expressed by the speakers on the following program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, nor are they necessarily endorsed by Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC. Now, in the studio, local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome to the Money Hour on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, September 1st show. It is Labor Day weekend, so I hope all of you are having a great weekend. And my co-host, Keelan Harvey, is not here today, where I'm flying solo. So we are your local mortgage experts, bringing expert advice and inside knowledge on today's events in our local economy and how it'll affect your money. But being that it's the Labor Day weekend, I thought I would have a little special show. And being that Keelan's not here with me, I've brought in a really close friend of mine. So I'm excited to share things a little bit different today. If you're hearing our show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but we're here to connect you with the guests that we have on the show, which is Morgan Oakes. Or any questions that you have, you can call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And all of you know me as your local mortgage expert, as well as Keelan, my co-host, which again is not here. But I'm a little bit more than that. I've got a little bit more to share. And my friend Morgan thought it would be fun to actually share some of that with all of you that are my listeners. So I am a speaker, I'm a coach, I'm an author. The message that I share on stage is how to turn tragedy into triumph and live your dream now. My coaching program is around sharing my philosophy to one-time your business, which is helping business professionals to take control of their business so their business no longer controls them. And really the why behind the course is so that business professionals can live the life that they want to live. And that's really what I'm all about. My personal motto is live your dream now. And again, I'm just really excited to be able to open up this space. And my friend Morgan Oakes that's going to be here, the show's just going to be with us having a casual conversation. Behind the scenes, you'll be able to hear this casual conversation. So I'm just kind of looking at it as when Morgan and I get together and we have a little cocktail or a bite to eat, it's kind of the conversation that we most likely would be having. So Morgan, thank you so much for coming in and having this, opening this great space with me today.
Yeah, thank you, Tina. It's great to be here. Great to be back.
Wonderful. And a little bit about Morgan. Dr. Morgan Oakes is a transformational keynote speaker, high performance coach, and a healer whose passion is empowering people in every facet of their life. Dr. Morgan's gift is inspiring audiences and private clients to transform their lives and businesses by trusting their intuition, integrating their life wisdom, and cultivating the courage to take inspired action. You are sure to be entertained and enlightened in a way that inspires you to get clear about what you love and empowers you to start living your top life today. And everything that Morgan is about is what I'm about as well. But it's interesting. We come from a total different way of sharing our message, but the bottom core to what we're about is identical. And I think most people that have found success, life strategy successes, their cores are exactly the same as well. It's just our own individual way of sharing that. Wouldn't you say that would be correct, Morgan?
Absolutely, I would agree with that.
Yeah. So as always, we are going to have the same format, just a little bit different. So I can't start out a show without having a little bit of money chat.
Money.
So a little bit of money chat. This show is called The Money Hour, which is about money. It's how to make money, save money, so that you can have a better quality of life for you and your family. That's what the show is about. But normally during money chat, I'm sharing something around what's happening in the economy or mortgage or real estate or tips on being successful in your finances. But today I'm going to talk about life. And how you look at life will determine the life that you will live. And yes, life, and today's show really is around life strategies. Life is going to determine the money that you're going to make. How you look at life and how you view what's happening every second of your day is going to critically impact everything around you. And that includes your success and your money. So I think it's just perfect with this special and different show because it does have to do, why we want to make money and so we can have a better quality of life for our family. So I want to share a poem that was written by a 14-year-old boy. His name is Nichols from North Carolina, and the poem he wrote was on February 26, 19 in 2014. And the poem is really about dreaming, which is perfect because, again, I shared at the opening of the show, my personal motto is live your dream now. So here's the poem that he wrote. Today is the absolute worst day ever. And do not try to convince me that there is something good in every day, because when you take a closer look, this world is a pretty evil place. Even if some goodness does shine through once in a while, satisfaction and happiness do not last. And if it is not true that it is all in the mind and the heart, because true happiness can only be obtained only in one's surroundings are good, it is not true that good exists. I am sure that you can agree that reality creates my attitude. It is all beyond my control, and you will never in a million years hear me say that today is a good day. Wow. Morgan, what do you think of that poem?
I can feel my heart tightening up. That's gut-wrenching.
That's gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
It's devastating. And, so when I first read that poem, I thought, my gosh, this is written by a 14-year-old boy. Is he thinking of taking his life, or, what's going on? But then after you read it, it tells you then to read the poem backwards. Now, I wish for all of you that you had a visual of this, but trust me, I am reading it backwards. And I'll say when I share this in my keynote, because I love sharing this poem. I'll share. I actually tried to rewrite the poem so that the words actually lined up on the lines correctly with the sentence, and it doesn't work. It has to be just as he put it on here. Otherwise, it doesn't read backwards correctly. So listen to the poem when you read it backwards. Today is a good day, and you will never in a million years hear me say that it is beyond my control. My attitude creates the reality. I'm sure that you can agree that it is not true that good exists only if one's surroundings are good. True happiness can be obtained because it is all in the mind and the heart. And if it is not true, satisfaction and happiness do not last. Some goodness does shine through once in a while. Even if this world is a pretty evil place. Because when you take a closer look, there is something good in every day. And do not try to convince me that today is the absolute worst day ever. Oh my gosh, I have had tears over this poem so many times, and it brings me to such a place every time that I share it with somebody that has not heard this poem before. So if you think about it, the world, it hurts pretty bad. There's a lot of pain and sadness in the world. But at the very same time, the world's a beautiful place. And it all depends on how you look at the world, how you embrace every second of your day, and that will determine the reality and the life that you're going to live. So I wanted to share that during Money Chat before I start my conversation with my great friend, Morgan here. So before we do that, we do have to take a little break. And continued my conversation, or starting the great conversation I'm going to have with my friend Morgan Oakes right here at 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.
Have you been stuck in the same rut for so long that you can't even remember what passion or enthusiasm feels like? Or do you feel you're doing amazing but know there must be more? Dr. Morgan Oakes knows that his passion is helping people rediscover their passion and to powerfully step back into courageous, inspired living. As a certified high-performance coach and transformational speaker, Dr. Morgan blends ancient wisdom with current research and resources in a way that inspires you to get clear about what you love and empowers you to start living your top life today. Dr. Morgan has been empowering audiences and individuals for over a decade and is excited to share his integration of some of the world's most powerful tools for healing and personal transformation with you.
Hi, this is Dr. Morgan Oakes. To learn more about high-performance coaching or to hire me as your next transformational speaker, please visit drmorganoakes.com or call me directly at 206-430-3245. Again, you can learn more at drmorganoakes.com or call me directly at 206-430-3245. And when you go there, I'd love for you to receive the 6 keys to living your top life. Again, please go to drmorganoakes.com. I'd love to share this gift with you, and you can access it for free today at drmorganoakes.com.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and co-host Keelan Harvey on Alternative Talk AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and I'm flying solo. My co-host, Keelan Harvey, is not here today, but we are your local mortgage experts right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, September 1st show. It is a great day to talk money, and that's what the show is all about, how to make money, save money, and have a better quality life for you and your family. If you're hearing our show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but we're here to answer any questions, or today I can connect you with the amazing guests that I have on studio. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150, or online at themoneyhour.com. And we started out our show. My lineup today is Dr. Morgan Oakes, and we're going to be talking about life strategies and how to be successful in this crazy, chaotic thing that we call life. So, Morgan, thank you so much again for being here and joining me for the entire show today. I'm just so excited.
Yeah, me as well. Thank you.
So let's go ahead and start it out, Morgan, because I want you to share first as we open up our life strategy conversation here, again, kind of behind the scenes with two friends together. What does intuitive wisdom for modern transformation mean for you? Because I know it means a lot to you.
Yeah, this is something I've been speaking about, and it's been called different things over the last few years, and it's really me figuring out how to navigate life. Yeah. And these are the tools that have come to me. This is how it's kind of developed for me. And I think one of the things we're really running into is we're a society that's very head dominated. Mm-hmm. We think through everything, we figure out everything, we analyze everything. Now, that's one of the reasons you're so amazing in the mortgage industry is you get all those things set up in systems so that things go smoothly. Yeah. But a lot of life is changing so fast that if all we're using is our mind, if we're missing out on our heart and our gut, there's things that are going to happen that are changing, that are evolving so fast that we can't outthink them.
Love that.
Right? There's other things we need to be tracking, and the more that we dive into science, we're realizing we used to think all the neurons were up in the brain. Uh-huh. That's where all thought happens in the body. And we're realizing there's so much in the heart. There's a great book called Heart Math that really goes into this. There's an institute where they study all of this. Uh-huh. And we're realizing how much comes from the gut. And I like looking back at things that have been around forever. So we all say, trust your gut instinct. Yes. Or like, I wouldn't touch that person with a 10-foot pole. Uh-huh. Or there's all these things that are just built into the fabric of how we communicate because they're real. Yes. Because they work, because we've known about them for so long. And what I'm attempting to do is figure out how do we keep using our amazing brains that we've done so much to develop and reintegrate our heart, reintegrate our gut, to really make sure that we're living that best possible life.
Love that.
And ultimately, a lot of life goes very smooth, just like in the poem that you shared. Yeah. Are there 9 things that go right and you focus on the one that went wrong? Yes. Or are there 9 things that went wrong today, but you focus on the one that went poorly? And one of the things I love about you, and one of the reasons I actually asked about this type of show when you reached out to me, you do amazing in your industry. And there's all this other stuff to you that you don't tend to share because it's outside of what you're doing with people in the way of money talk, mortgage, et cetera. So, I know that my framework's really about dealing with challenges in a good way. It's about avoiding them and moving through them. And I'm always interested, how do you deal with challenges and, whether it's in life or business?
Yeah, thank you, Morgan. And I do, and I appreciate you kind of asking to open this space up because this is the Money Hour, and so that's the space. But outside of this, I've had an opportunity to share my my personal core practices. And for me, with challenges, it's embracing them because I believe whether in business or in life, the problems and challenges, they're opportunities. That's where you're going to be able to find the solutions. And you talk about your intuition and your gut feeling. I talk about my navigation system, and I really believe that my navigation directs me exactly where I need to go. And I can't remember who, and you probably know, Morgan, the gal that talks about 3 seconds that you have to really be able to know what to do in that time frame. And that's really your gut and your intuition, because I believe that your gut and intuition, as you teach, it never steers you wrong. It is always right. The problem is whether you're hearing it quick enough to pick up on where it is directing you. And so with problems and challenges, if I can really embrace those for what they are, that it's here, it's telling me that I need to be doing something differently, or that there's a lesson that needs to be learned. And what I did for myself is I built up what I call my positive triggers. And for any of my listeners, because I would love to give you a copy of my book, reach out to the show. I did write a book journey with me. It's based on my personal and professional core practices. And I'd love to give you a copy because I didn't write my book to profit from it. I wrote my book to be able to share my story. And so if you're interested in that on this special show for this weekend, just reach out, call the show, and we'll get you a complimentary copy of my book mailed out to you. But I talk in much more detail in some of the things that are probably going to, randomly come up here in our conversation with Morgan and I, but built up positive triggers. And I believe that there's 4 core areas that cause stress for us in our life. It's our health, relationships, success, and money. And health could be, many different things. Relationships it could be your relationship with your spouse. It could be relationship with your coworkers, with your team, with your children. There's so many different, a friend that you have challenges in relationships. Success really is boiled down to a challenge in your confidence. And so whether it's a success challenge that you're having that you want to be successful giving back to your community and you can't get that together, or you've got a career you haven't been able to get together, or really all of that's in your lack of confidence. And then money, so those are the 4 areas that stress shows up. And so what I believe in for myself that works really well is I have a positive trigger that I can draw from without any thought process at all, because I've already strategically planned it for each of these categories. And my positive trigger is, what is the most positive thing, a real example I can draw from? And it doesn't matter how far back it is. It just has to be real, whether it's in health, relationship, success, or money. I have 4 for each one of them. And then in the future, when something better comes up, then I can pull and I can bring that in. It's just the one that made me feel the most confident in that particular area. And so I kind of share it. It's like when you're in a car and you're really stressed and depressed, you're having the worst day ever. And everybody can relate to this because it's happened. And all of a sudden, a favorite song comes back on. And for me, it was my first slow dance song that I had this feeling. And I connected it, and this is where this aha moment came up for me. I wasn't really depressed, because it's really hard to get me depressed, but I was having a really bad day and I wasn't feeling at anywhere near my top of anything. And the song came on and I got goosebumps, and I just remembered back to that first dance, and I just felt all warm and fuzzy. And I thought, oh my gosh, what in the heck? How could I be from this place to now this place? And then, of course, after the song's done, you go back to your thought process. But what I did after the song was done, I started thinking about, how can I recreate that for myself? How can I recreate that exact same moment? Well, I just need to build a positive trigger, a memory so that's where I started. And so it's before I can even finish a thought, I'm going to that success. Well, this business plan I'm putting together, it's really not coming together. And I could use an example of my coaching program, which is a constant change and challenge around mastering it. And I think about the success of something that I've accomplished that is so extreme in that space that I'm like, oh my God, this is like so much easier than anything I've accomplished before. And so anyways, that would be my answer, Morgan, is to encourage people just to really be able to build up those positive triggers around those 4 core areas, and know that your stress and your challenge and your failures are going to be around those 4 somewhere. And if you can pull from that positive trigger, just like hearing that favorite song from whatever that was for you, that moment, it will have the exact same impact. And I promise you, when you do this and you practice, you will not be able to complete that negative thought process that you are in at that moment. So, Morgan, how do you apply all this amazing stuff that you're doing, and your teachings and your coaching and what you're doing for your clients? How do you apply this into your own personal life?
Yeah, it's what I've basically narrowed it down to. Probably the easiest is to get really good at listening and then stepping.
Okay.
And I find that a lot of people get stuck in one or the other. You've got those people that have all those amazing ideas. They know exactly what they should be doing. And week after week, you're like, have you done it? Have you done it? How come you haven't done it? When are you going to do it? And they keep knowing, but not doing. We're also stuck at this other end where we're in the Nike Just Do It society, right? And people just keep going and going and going, and they're hustling. And they may not be asking the right questions, or they're hustling in the wrong direction. or it's all based on their head and maybe not so much based on their passion. We get really niche focused in one area, and that's where we keep hustling. And sometimes, you know, if you're driving between here and, you know, somewhere across the state, if there's a detour, you actually need to pay attention to that and go a different direction.
Yes.
But we tend to not do that in life. So very simply, it's listen and step. And the middle part of that is being courageous. So if you're in motion, but sometimes it's the wrong motion, the wrong relationship, the wrong business, the wrong partnership, even the wrong, you know, home deal that you're trying to close.
Yes.
Being courageous enough to ask the questions again, to check back in and make sure it's the right clarity. And then once you're over at clarity and you have that next step, and we always think clarity is like this destination, like clarity is, you know, Cancun or, you know, some foreign destination. Clarity is an action.
Yeah.
Clarity is the next best step. It's not where am I going to be 50 years from now? What's my next best step to take maybe this afternoon?
Right now, this second.
Yeah, moving towards that thing. We obviously pick those things 50 years in the future, but what's my next best step? And then once you have that clarity, be courageous enough to do what that clarity is asking of you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the framework, because I'm always trying to do a really good job of listening. And that's with my head, my heart, and my gut. There's a ton of body wisdom and a ton of research around this as well, where they've done research studies where they know that your body will start sweating a long time before your mind knows that something's wrong.
Interesting.
You know, so there's all these great studies around. There's cancer research on intuition. There's all these great places where they've studied it. And so if we can use all of our tools, not just one of our tools, to get that clarity, and then there's a lot of resources to be courageous and step into motion, and then a lot of resources around being in good motion. But that's the balance I'm trying to always have. Ask good questions, take good actions, repeat.
And see, so it's the same thing. I mean, it's, you know, it's really getting yourself into the best position that you can, the best place that you can, really listening and paying attention and being in tune to what your body is telling you so that you're able to maximize what the universe really wants for you, maximize the gift that you are given, and to really step into the person that you're meant to be. And step into, that's taking those, steps. So listening and stepping in and taking that action.
Yeah. And what I really like about what you shared, because I do have some playlists and I've got some things that I'm like, if I'm a little bit low, how do I get higher?
Yes.
If I'm already high, how do I amplify that even more? Like before I'm going to be on a radio show or doing something.
Yes.
But I don't have them in different categories. So I wrote a note over here that I'm going to create different playlists for those different areas of my life, because it's a different energy. It's a different emotion.
Yes. That's why I like getting together with you, because it's, when you surround yourself around powerful people that are making a big difference in the world, I really believe that each of us are inspired and motivated by someone else, and a compound of those people, and that's really helps us to be the best person that we can. And so I just really appreciate this time with you. And we've only got to have just a small conversation, but I got to take us to break, and then we'll come back afterwards. So we're going to take a short break, continue conversation with my friend Morgan Oakes right here at 1150 AM KKNW.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and co-host Keelan Harvey on Alternative Talk AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and I'm flying solo. My co-host, Keelan Harvey, is not here, but I can't take him out of the introduction. He's part of the show. He's just not here today, and we are your local experts right here at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, September 1st show. We are here to help you build a strong financial blueprint 1 week and 1 show at a time, and if you're hearing our show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. But if you'd like to get connected with the amazing guests that I have on the studio today, Morgan Oakes, you can call the show at 1-855-400-1150 or go online at themoneyhour.com. And for today's special show for Labor Day, I've also offered a complimentary copy of my book. So please call the show if you would like to have that. And back in studio here for the rest of the show with Morgan Oakes, and we're talking about life strategies. And as we were kind of ending up here talking about, Morgan teaches about listening and stepping, and you're either doing one, you're either listening or you're stepping. And a lot of times people forget to take that step, which is moving forward into the action. And I really love what you're doing, Morgan, in getting more to the scientific side of it. You know, from me, I really do believe that our success and our core success and what we're doing is coming from the exact same place, but you're coming from really that scientific study and how to use your body. And I'm just kind of more of what feels good for me, I'm sharing, but it's because it's coming from my body and I'm listening to it. So, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of the things I started doing, let's say intuitively or naturally, or I just was drawn to it. And then I found out research later. And there's some things, I mean, there's a ton of research on being, you know, a high performance person, of really maximizing life. And sometimes it starts with the research and I implement the habit second.
Got it.
But that's one thing I've really been impressed with about you is you have so many good habits and there's a lot that you use to pull you through the day. So, you know, how do you start out your day? What wakes you up in the morning?
Well, what wakes me up in the morning is I'm excited to conquer my day, and I step out of bed as that I'm stepping in my dream, and I'm ready to conquer whatever happens. And I think also that I'm just excited, my own excitement for the day, because I do believe that we have to be best for ourselves to be better for others. You know, they tell you in an airplane, you got to put on your mask first before you put your child's mask on. And so, you know, I always get that visual and think about whenever I want to do more for others, I have to really take it back and make sure that I'm taking care of myself, because if I'm not, I can't be the best to others. But what I'm excited about to do every day, and my commitment, is if I can just, at least one person, if I can be an inspiration to them to live their dream now, it is an amazing day for me. So that's what wakes me up. You know, my personal motto is live your dream now. And live your dream now is not about that amazing life that you would like to have and that you hope that you have someday. Living your dream now means right now, this second, embracing every second of your day. And one of my personal core practices, are dream, be alert, and learn to fail. And I wrote a quote around each of those. But being alert, my quote is wake up every morning alert to all the surprises waiting just for you. When you watch for them, they show up everywhere. And what an amazing day it would be, or it will be. And so that's my goal, is just to be the best that I can, stay connected to my positive triggers that we talked about, embrace every small thing out there that, you know, for me, seeing a dog outside of a window, I literally can get myself to randomly just in tears of happiness because I'm embracing that moment for whatever reason. Seeing a dog and his mouth flapping like he's smiling, and just, that's a small special surprise that's waiting just for me. When a mother plays with her child and I get to experience and embrace this beautiful thing between the two of them, that is a special surprise. It's waiting there just for me. We all have them. When a stranger holds a door open for me, you know, I love it when, you know, Morgan, every time we go somewhere, you'll always open the door for me. I mean, any, you know, great friend does that for a friend. But when a stranger does it, it means so much more, because a lot of times you'll exchange that smile and that, you know, hey, how are you? Or thank you. And you never know if you're ever going to see this person again, but you feel that connection because of that small act of kindness. So those are just a few of mine. But that's how I wake up, is I wake up ready to conquer my day. I wake up excited about all the surprises that are waiting just for me, so I can be the best person for myself, so that I can be an inspiration to at least one person every day.
So powerful. I love that.
So for you, Morgan, you're a great authority on the topic of intuitive wisdom, of modern transformation. How did this all come together for you?
Yeah, this started, well over 10 years ago, and it was at a time in my life where a lot of things were changing. You know, I was my first year into my new business, a relationship had shifted, and just the world started changing. I started hearing words I'd never heard before. I started noticing these synchronicities. So I started noticing a lot more in my day-to-day life. And it'd be little things like, oh my gosh, you should read book A. And then the second person would be like, I have this book you really need to read. It's called book A.
Crazy.
And then the third person would be like, I have this book that I think you really should open up. And I'm like, is it called book A? And so just these
Love that.
really crazy things started
Yeah.
happening. And, or those days where you're getting ready to leave the house and you have that little voice that says, grab the umbrella.
Yeah.
And that was in Colorado at the time. So I'd look outside, it's totally sunny. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
it's not going to rain today. I don't need that umbrella. And later I'd be soaking wet. And I'm like, oh yeah, I had the intuition to grab this. And I didn't.
Yeah.
And I was also doing construction on my first home at that time. And it'd be like, grab the hammer. And I would ignore it. And then I'd be on the other side of the house working on that project. And I would need that hammer. So it was just these little things. And then I started having some more specific visions around traveling to Central America. And it took a while for the visions to come to me. It took a while for me to actually follow through with them. But some of the most amazing things that have happened to me in this life have occurred on that trip and based on following those visions. And so I really feel like, for intuition, for courage, for inspired action, they're muscles.
Yeah.
We make them stronger. We make them stronger through our daily habits or our affirmations, through anything that can keep us in that positive momentum.
So like we're studying to be smarter, or we're taking classes to master our craft. It's the same thing that you're teaching people to be able to master your intuition, because I would imagine if you're not taking that umbrella, or you didn't listen for that first book in those, then you've missed out on this opportunity or something that is big. I believe that, I just kind of see the universe just as pinging out there. They're all pinging all this stuff at you, and they're just trying to get you to learn, you hear something. And same with me, and same for each of us. And the better that we can get in tune with our intuition, the quicker we can ultimately get to where we're supposed to be and the difference we're supposed to make, correct?
I totally agree. Something I'm always asking for is ease and grace, right? And right timing. So
Love
hopefully
that.
I can avoid the difficult stuff if possible. And we'll even joke like, first you get that little tap on the shoulder, then you get a little bit of a nudge, and maybe it turns into a 2x4. But usually when something happens, and we hear about this in business all the time, in relationship all the time, I knew that was happening. I should have done something different. Like when something blows up, we usually knew a long time before that, and we ignored all those signs, usually because we had attachment to the outcome, or we weren't being courageous, right? Or we were not present. We were either stuck in the past or the future, but all momentum comes from the present moment. So I think all those things play in. And for my mom, she was in an auto accident. This was about 2.5 years ago at this point. And what she told me immediately afterwards was, she's like, I had the intuition to go a different way than than the way I always drive. And I ignored it, and I got hit like 2 blocks later. And so I think intuition can help amazing things happen. It also can help avoid tragedy. And that's one of the things I love in your book is you sharing that, you're so upbeat, you're so positive, but life hasn't always been that easy for you. So I'd love to hear, what tragedies have you had to face in your life?
So my dad's addictions from, as a young child, his attempted suicide when I was 12 years old, and I was daddy's little girl. So that was, really challenging. My mom did a really great job of keeping his addictions from me. So I had no idea. I just thought my dad was a crazy guy. He was a fun drunk, not a mean one. So my dad was just the funny guy. And, what an amazing thing that my mom did to keep her stress hidden from me, allowing me to have an untarnished relationship with my dad. So when he tried taking his life when I was 12 years old, that was my time where all of the triumph I'd had turned into tragedy. Intentionally made that decision, or I led myself down that, to marrying I started dating a 20-year-old man when I was 15 years old, got married to him. He spent 5 years in prison, and then the death of our daughter, Amber. So those have been the tragedies that I've dealt with. But through these tragedies allowed me to triumph. And that's really the message that I share. I do a lot of work, as you know, Morgan, with homeless, in the homeless community, and sharing my message of turning your tragedy into triumph. And that's how you can really live your dream now, because I never wish for a better life, but I am committed to being better at life. And so really to live the life that you're meant to live is to learn from the tragedies and be able to benefit from them. Yeah. So, Morgan, how do you define, we've been talking about tragedies, we're talking about courageous and courageous life, and, how do you define courageous living, and what does that look like for you?
I think courageous living is just possibility. It's opening up that possibility that something different could happen. And
Yes.
you probably had that moment for yourself as well, where you're like, oh, I'm going to start moving in this other direction.
Yeah.
And so for people to be courageous, sometimes some people like to jump off cliffs and trust that the wings will come in, right? So
Okay.
for some people, they do big changes.
Yes.
Some people, it's about, okay, what's the little thing I can do today that's a step in the direction of that dream? And then at a certain point, that critical mass happens,
Yes.
and they tip over into that dream. Some people need to know that it's a possibility. So I recommend looking for a mentor, somebody living in that way that you're like, oh, it's possible.
Yes.
What are they doing? How are they showing up? Sometimes it's, and then we can model after that, and we can show up and go, oh, well, they're getting up at 6 a.m. and working out, or
Yep.
they're meditating,
Yes.
or they're doing an internship with somebody in their industry that's killing it, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So whatever that might be, I also think direct mentoring, getting under that person and having that conversation and that, mentor-mentee relationship, it serves both sides of that equation, right?
Totally
Both
agree.
people really benefit.
Yeah.
And I think coaching's important as well.
Yeah.
All the people that are amazing that we know their names, they have coaches.
Well, and I always say that nobody's, brilliance is not coming up with a brilliant idea. Brilliance is observing others that are a higher level than you, learning from them and making them their own. So all of this brilliance that is in our world, all these brilliant people, they were all inspired and motivated by somebody else. And then they made it their own. And once you make it your own, that's when you take it to the world. And that's when amazing things happen. So that's what the brilliance is.
Yeah, and a little shift in perspective, right? If you change your
100%.
life 1 degree right now, where
Yes.
are you 100 miles from now?
Yes.
1,000 miles from now?
Yes.
And so I'd love to hear, because you had a lot of big things happen early on in your life. So was there a moment that really changed your perspective and allowed this different possibility that you've grown and lived into?
Yeah, so there's so many different things throughout my life, but as you talked about, you get these little signs and these lessons, and whether or not you're paying attention to it or not, the universe keeps coming back and pinging you a little bit more. And my big thing on really coming into an understanding of what the universe has to offer us was in the financial meltdown. And I remember it's midnight, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting at my desk and I'm crying. I'm depressed. I've been in the mortgage industry for quite a few years at this point, and it was pretty devastating because everything overnight was totally different. I didn't know how I was going to make our mortgage payment. My husband was working for me at the time, so his income was my income. And when you're looking for something, your intuition or the universe puts it out there. For some reason, I'm online and I came across this video, Selective Attention Test by Daniel Simmons. And what it is, it's a test of these kids playing basketball, and it tells you to count the basketballs. And so you're counting, and you're focused on counting the basketballs, and you count it, and then it gets to the end, and it says it's 16 or whatever it was. And then it asks you, did you see the gorilla? And I was like, what? And then it plays the video back again. And then, of course, the gorilla is right there. Well, it's perspective, which you'd mentioned before. But then right after that, you can see a like as video. It was another video. And so the other video is called The Monkey Business Illusion. So now I know that gorilla is coming, and I'm watching for the gorilla. And sure enough, the gorilla comes across the screen as big as can be. And I didn't miss it. I wasn't counting how many passes were happening. And he said, well, if you've seen this before, you probably saw the gorilla. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess so. But he said, did you see the curtain change and somebody leaving the game? And I was like, dang it. No, I didn't see that. So they play it again. Of course, the curtain changes colors. Someone leaves the game. So and I was kind of laughing. I was at this total depression and crying and to almost of a laughter of, and I had that aha moment. Finally, the universe, after all the pinging that it's done for who knows how long, I realized it was my perception of what was happening right now. I realized that I thought about it deeper, and I thought, well, am I going to quit the mortgage industry? No. What about everybody else? 70% have already quit by this day. And I was still here. I wasn't going to go anywhere. Then I asked myself, was there any real estate agents that were still selling homes? Because that's my primary real estate, my source of business. Yes. Were there people buying houses? Yes. Oh my gosh, what an opportunity. This is not a challenge. This is an opportunity. It's an opportunity. And I got so excited, Morgan, because all of my agent friends were depressed just like I was. Now I had this new aha moment that I could share. So I came up and I put together my personal core practices: dream, be alert, learn to fail. I wrote my quotes. I started doing what I called an inspirational break, all this growth. But I was so happy when I realized that this is such a huge opportunity. I was thankful that we were in this market because I was going to be able to get out there and really make a difference with mortgages. But I was driving home and I saw a red light. And as I was sitting at the red light, I thought about the green light. And, unconsciously, I thought. And then unconsciously, I thought about the overpass and the underpass. And then I started consciously thinking about up, down, long, short, sad, happy, salt, pepper. Every single word that I can think of had an opposite, a preference, or a choice, which came to my last personal core practice, learn to fail. I call it embrace your failure. Because failure is here. Why do we experience sadness? So that we can know what happiness feels like. Why is there so much hatred in the world? So we know what love feels like. Why do we have challenges? So that we can overcome them. So life is this way. It's always been this way. It's supposed to be this way. Do's, don't, pros, cons, the yin and the yang. How do you look at it? As we started in Money Chat with the poem Dream from that 14-year-old amazing young man, that's what life is. So the moment back when my perspective changed was the financial meltdown in 2008. And on that note, before I come back and ask you a question, we got to take it to break. I'm here with my friend Morgan. We're talking about life strategies, how to be successful in life, love life, and just have a really great life right here at 11:50 a.m. KKNW after this short break.
Have you been stuck in the same rut for so long that you can't even remember what passion or enthusiasm feels like? Or do you feel you're doing amazing, but know there must be more? Dr. Morgan Oakes knows that his passion is helping people rediscover their passion and to powerfully step back into courageous, inspired living. As a certified high-performance coach and transformational speaker, Dr. Morgan blends ancient wisdom with current research and resources in a way that inspires you to get clear about what you love and empowers you to start living your top life today. Dr. Morgan has been empowering audiences and individuals for over a decade and is excited to share his integration of some of the world's most powerful tools for healing and personal transformation with you.
Hi, this is Dr. Morgan Oakes. To learn more about high-performance coaching or to hire me as your next transformational speaker, please visit drmorganoakes.com or call me directly at 206-430-3245. Again, you can learn more at drmorganoakes.com or call me directly at 206-430-3245. And when you go there, I'd love for you to receive the 6 keys to living your top life. Again, please go to drmorganoakes.com. I'd love to share this gift with you, and you can access it for free today at drmorganoakes.com.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and co-host Keelan Harvey on Alternative Talk AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and no co-host, Keelan Harvey, because he's out of town today. But we are your local mortgage experts right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, September 1st show. We bring into studio each week the best of the best experts in our local market on everything money. We're here to help you in today's economy. Today's show is special, but nothing short of money, because we're talking about life and life success, which will then compound to how everything else is going to come together in your life. So if you're hearing our show at a different time or day, you are listening to rebroadcast, but we're here to answer any questions. I can connect you with an amazing guest and a very close friend of mine, Morgan Oakes. So please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And again, for today's special show, I'd love to offer any of my listeners a complimentary copy of my book. So please call the show or go online. Yes, you can get it on Amazon or Kindle, but I don't want to sell you my book. I'd love to give you a complimentary copy. So Morgan, thank you again for being here, spending the entire show with me today. I'm just having so much fun doing something a little bit different. And the show design is all around money and experts in every area regarding your finances so that you can have a strong financial background and a strong financial support team to help you. And you fit perfectly in that because you're supporting on the success side of life, which is going to then trail into how you're going to be successful in everything else. So I just really appreciate you being here. And we've had such a great conversation on what we've talked about so far today, but I'd love to ask you, intuition. It isn't typically a word associated with money, but it really has everything to do with your success around money. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think the idea of thinking about all our things being insular, like,
Okay.
oh, this is this little box and this is this little box, like, that's not how life happens.
Yeah.
When relationship gets messy, it affects life. When business gets messy, it affects, like, it just, everything splashes over. And that idea of, you know, if you lift one ship in the harbor, you're going to lift all of them. Right. So
Yeah.
I think that's how it really ties in, is if we're tracking money, we should also be tracking health, happiness. You know, what's our spirituality? What are all these different areas of life, and how do we use them together? And so the idea of wisdom's different than knowledge. Because we know some very intelligent people in our lives who make some really horrible decisions.
Yes.
So it's not always an equation. It's not always a book. It's not always a degree. And so wisdom's different than knowledge. And wisdom is taking all the resources that we have. And some of that's, you know, if we look at mortgage, like, what's the history of the market? What's, you know, what's coming up based on these other markets that we track, and, you know, what homes are getting built. And there's all these things to be tracking. But good business people, you also hear them say things like, oh, well, yeah, you know, it's not totally in alignment with the numbers, but I'm just going to trust a hunch here. Or they listen to other things.
Yes.
And so for me, I think anytime we fall too far one way or the other, if we're all intuition and we're ignoring the realities of life, it's a little too woo-woo.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, why woo-woo gets a bad name. You know, but if
you have to have that balance.
You got to have that balance. And if you're all just book smarts and numbers, you're going to miss out on some of those times where your chest got tight, or you started sweating for no reason, or the hair stood up on end, or, you know, your gut tightened up and you knew better later.
Yes.
So it's really about blending that, so you can take knowledge and intuition to create wisdom. So it's really pulling that together, and we always know life's going to change.
Yes.
It's never an upward slope all the way to the end of life.
And you got to be excited about that life that's going to change, the good or the bad.
That's how we get strong. People go to the gym to experience difficulty so they can get stronger and be better tomorrow.
Love it.
We go out of our way to do it. And so how have you kind of positioned yourself to deal with the next blip or the next tragedy that's going to show up?
Well, I believe tragedy life throws us tragedy so we can share a story of triumph on the other side. But you must fight through your tragedies to make it on the other side. And my journey through life has taught me this. You know, growing up as a family, we had lots of challenges, which I shared earlier before. But through those challenges, I was able to find triumph because it gave me the motivation and drive to want to work hard. I sold Girl Scout cookies. I was in the newspaper every year from my first year at 7 years old selling Girl Scout cookies because we had no money. I wanted to go horseback camp, and in order to get there, I had to sell a lot of cookies. So I was motivated and driven to do that. I sold strawberries out on the strawberry field, and I was the #1 champion strawberry picker because I had a reason why I was out there on that strawberry field. And I competed playing the violin since I was 5 years old, and before my entire life hit, before I understood what it meant to embrace tragedy and triumph, I was chosen to represent the United States in a world festival in Europe with my violin, and I traveled to Europe, my violin in tow, competing against kids from all over the world when I was 12 years old. And that summer when I returned home from Europe is when my dad tried taking his life. And so that's when everything collapsed for me. I went from all of this triumph, and all that triumph I had as a young child was if it had never happened. And tragedy visited me. And so many years of my loss, I didn't see success again until I was a young adult. And so what happened, Morgan, and the lesson that I learned, and this show is not about a deep conversation and really going, but it is a special show, and the space has been opened up, and I really believe everything that we learn is from our own stories and our own space that we're in. It's whether or not we listen to that intuition, whether or not we pick up from that poking that's coming at us, that this is something to take away. When it changed, once I got pregnant, then I had someone else to live for. And that was my first changing from all of this tragedy that had happened with my husband and all of that. And then, Amber died. And, I had her for 4 short months. And my turning point is when I was visiting Amber. We have her buried at Mountain View Cemetery in Auburn, Washington. I was sitting there and I was so depressed of thinking about the moments that I had with Amber, all the memories and the first and last Christmas that we spent together, and all of the ones that I wasn't going to have with her. And I noticed a new headstone that was a row right in front of Amber. It was almost directly across from her. But this headstone had 2 names on it. They were brothers. Kevin was 2 years old and Michael was 4 years old. And how ironic, the oldest boy was Michael. That's my first husband's name. And then I wondered what happened, to them. Did they die in a fire or die in a car accident? And then I started feeling so much pain for that mother and comparing her pain to my pain. I'd lost Amber. I'd only had her for 4 months. She had Kevin for 2 years and Michael for 4 years. I'd lost one child. She'd lost 2 children. And in that moment, for some reason, I started thinking about my dad when he tried taking his life and how I let that tragedy completely destroy me for so many years. I had a choice to make, because I believe when tragedy hits, your warriors, they're right beside you, but also you have strength that comes out, strength you may have never known that you had if you had not gone through that tragic event. So I was determined. I knew what it felt like to give up. This time I thought, what would happen if I didn't give up? What happens if I would use this strength to fight? And now look where I'm at, Morgan, and look what I've been able to do, not only for myself, but now to be able to share with other people. That's why I just one person, if I can just be an inspiration to one person to take from, what I've experienced and what I've learned, because everybody has a try. And so I'd like to ask you today, if you're listening, what tragedy are you dealing with right now today? What tragedy is going to visit you tomorrow? But the real question is, what will you do about that? Will you use that tragedy to fight for your life, or let that tragedy take you down? And sad to say, my dad and Mike, neither one of them were ever able to be the person, grow into the person that they were meant to live, because they let tragedy take them down. And so, Morgan, when we talk about inspired, action and how we live to inspire, because this is my inspiration and this is, my story. What for you is an inspired action in helping with that inspiration and moving forward every day for you?
Yeah, I think what you just shared would be one of the best definitions I could pick. Right? It's that.
Thanks,
what's moving us.
Yeah.
What's moving us. And, I know we're on the money hour, but a lot of times if there's not something else woven into that, then it doesn't serve. If it's all money but no family, at a certain point there might be an emptiness.
Yes.
Or if it's money to fill in a part of us that's missing, we can never get there.
Yeah.
So we're always empty. We're never satisfied. And so, how do you blend that happiness of where you're at and having that thing in the future that's pulling you forward? And it's pulling you forward in a good way that's sustainable.
Yes.
And that, I think, is inspired action. It's finding that thing that you care about.
Yeah.
That's coming from a good place. Maybe it's your heart. Maybe you hear a lot of times, when somebody has a child or they get into a relationship or a family member gets sick or they have this vision that's going to help change or transform the world, boom, then they've got rocket fuel in their motor, right? And that's what will pull them forward, and that's what gets them out of bed, and that's what helps them go through all the, whether you call it tragedy or just that blip in the road, there's always going to be something. And so what's that thing that's pulling you forward that you can take your wisdom, your knowledge, your passion, your intuition, your team, your loved ones, and keep moving towards it? Because if it's not passionate, if it's not inspired, if it's just action, there's probably going to be burnout, or at some point you're going to give up, get distracted, or really fall off the path.
Great point. So 1 minute that we have in wrapping up our time here today, Morgan, and I wish we could have a whole nother show. This has just been so much fun.
Yeah,
but I
absolutely.
want to just leave you with just one key advice that you can give to my listeners as we wrap up our time on life strategies.
You know what it is. Right now, as you're listening to the show, you know what it is.
Yes. Yes.
They always know what it is.
Yes.
And when I say this to people, I might see them like light up and they're like, yeah, I'm going to go get it. Or their shoulders roll forward and they're like, yeah, I know what it is.
Yes.
So you're
Love
clear
that.
about something, you're not being courageous about something, or you're taking an action that's not your best action. You know what it is. And today's a perfect day to course correct.
Love that. And my shout out is live your dream now. And you've got to do exactly that. Know what you're supposed to do, take action, and take those steps and move forward. Morgan, thank you so much for being here with me today. Thank you for everything that you're doing for the world, the message that you're sharing, everything that you have inspired me to do, and for being my friend.
Yeah, really amazing to be here. And thank you for sharing with your listeners the more heart-centered and the more some of your background, because it's just so easy to love you, knowing all of you even more.
Thanks, Morgan.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you to all of you. This is your host, Tina Mitchell, signing off for the day. I wish each of you an amazing extended weekend. I appreciate you being here. Look forward to having you here next week. Same time, same place, right here at 1150 AM KKNW. Have a great weekend.
Tina Mitchell, MLO 145420, and Keelan Harvey, MLO 1330075, are licensed loan originators with Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, and MLS 7233. The views expressed by the speakers on the preceding program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, nor are they necessarily endorsed by Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC.